Hello everyone, welcome to the Iron Bars, my true crime YouTube channel. So without wasting any more time, let's get into this video. Guys, this video was supposed to have been uploaded last week. Unfortunately, I lost the script to this video. And so yesterday, which was Sunday, I tried to film the video again. But for some reason, this video just refuses to be filmed. Actually, I did manage to film the entire video. And then I edited the entire day. And then I exported it. While I was exporting the video, I noticed that I was actually exporting a blank. I uploaded the video onto my channel. That is why some of you, when you saw the notification and you clicked and you started watching and it was just blank. Like, I was mortified. Like, why this video refuses? But anyways, I told myself when I get to the office as early as I can, I am going to refilm the video because I feel like this story is a very important story to tell because it involves a scourge that is happening here in South Africa. I have spoken about this in my previous video about gender-based violence and how it is basically taking over, and women in this country are living in fear that they may be next. So if you are interested in seeing that video, please do go see it. The title is How to Eradicate Gender-Based Violence. So the reason why I started venting on that video was because of the research that I was doing on today's case. And I was thinking, come on, this is still happening even today in 2021. This happened in 2017, and in 2021, this is still happening. And after that, there have been more victims similar to this one. It was just not acceptable to me. And I think that today's case is imperative so that maybe, just maybe, somebody is going to come up with a solution, because I'm ready for whatever solution that you guys may comment down below. So without further ado, guys, and let me stop blabbing. So today's case is the scary murder of Karabo Mokoena. Let me repeat a newspaper clip by IOL about gender-based violence. So it says, South Africa is a country that is notorious for its high levels of gender-based violence, or GBV. The South African police statistics for reported rape cases for 2019 and 2020 is 42,289, and for sexual assault is 7,749. This is the Department of Police 2020. Amid huge underreporting of rape, intimate femicide is 5 times the global average. So as you can hear, guys, this is very scary statistics about gender-based violence in this country. It is just unacceptable. It is scary. If I was a woman, I would always live in fear. And this is not good news for any women living in South Africa. So in case you don't know about South Africa is a very beautiful country. We got beautiful landscapes. We got beautiful scenes. We got beautiful people. We are one of the most diverse nations in the world. We have 11 official languages, meaning also 11 official cultures that we practice here in South Africa. We also have a diverse population: whites, Indians, coloreds, black people, even Chinese. And then we also have a mixture of African migrants who have come to South Africa for better or for greener pastures or better economic opportunities, whichever way you want to call it. However, South Africa as well comes from a very horrible history that we are all still working on getting things done, especially in developing our country. And of course, we have a dark side to our country, is high levels of crime, and we also have this cancer in our society called gender-based violence. And it is frustrating me. It's the most frustrating crime that I'm most concerned about. I keep thinking that the last call that I want to hear is somebody telling me that my sister has been murdered by her boyfriend. I don't know what I would do to him. Honestly speaking, I just don't know. But one thing I know for sure, I would do something to him. And that's not how anybody should be thinking and feeling because of this cancer in our society. So Karabo Mokoena was born on the 27th of March 1995, making her an Aries. She was born in Deep Kloof Township of Soweto. She had an older sister and a younger brother to Lorraine and Thabang Mokoena. Karabo Mokoena was known to be a beautiful, humble, passionate and compassionate young woman. People that came across Karabo said she was thoughtful and she always fought for the underdog, and she always supported the underdog as well in business, at school, or wherever she finds herself. She never liked to see people isolated or feeling alone or feeling somewhat negative. She wanted them to feel part and parcel of society. So much so that Karabo Mokoena would also go to shelters and educate women who come from abusive relationships, where she would speak and preach to them about the importance of leaving an abusive relationship. She would teach them about law of attraction, why law of attraction, it should be something that they should practice, because it is all about what you think, what you say, how you feel, and what you expect is law of attraction. It's going to happen as you think it or as you say it. You create with your mind, you create with your thoughts, you create with your feelings, and you create with your expectation. So I'm one of the people that believes in law of attraction, and I believe that what you put out is what you are going to get back to your life. So if it's negativity, you will gain negativity. If it's positivity, positive things are going to happen in your life. So that is exactly what Karabo Mokoena was teaching women that come from abusive relationships. Basically, she was trying to tell them, do not depend on a man. Rather do things on your own, earn your own money, so that if anything happens to the relationship, let's say he throws the first slap, pack your bags and leave. Be independent until you find somebody who's going to love you, who's going to treat you, who's going to cherish you and appreciate you as a woman. So those are the things that she was teaching women in the shelters that she volunteered at. Karabo Mokoena was quite an intelligent young woman, so much so that she wanted to become a pilot. However, her main interest was to become a businesswoman. So she decided to enroll herself in a business school where she started her tertiary education in business studies. Karabo's goals was to become a successful businesswoman, but at the same time, she wanted to run an NGO that catered to abused women. Karabo Mokoena comes from a close-knit family. She was especially close to an older sister, Buntle, because they shared a room and they would talk about everything and anything under the sun and everything that is going on in their lives. In October of 2016, Karabo Mokoena meets a gentleman by the name of Sandile Mantsoe. Now, Sandile Mantsoe was born in 1992. Unfortunately, I could not find his full birthday as well as his zodiac sign. As you guys know that I'm passionate about finding out the zodiac sign of the perpetrator. Unfortunately, there was no background about his childhood that I could find. However, one thing that I did find though is that Sandile Mantsoe comes from Mpumalanga, a place called Emalahleni. He went to high school in Secunda, also in Mpumalanga. After matriculating, he did go to tertiary where he studied graphic design. When he was done with his tertiary, he moved to Johannesburg, where he started a forex trading company called $1 Trillion Legacy. Now, Sandile Mantsoe, by the age of 29, he was already a wealthy man through his forex trading company. Sandile Mantsoe was known to be soft-spoken as well as quiet, but quite slick as well. And he was also known to be super religious or man of God, as some of them would call themselves. He sounds like a man with a good head on his shoulders. Interestingly, Sandile Mantsoe, when he met with Karabo for the first time, he told Karabo that he was a single man. That was actually not true, because Sandile Mantsoe was married but estranged from his wife and 3 children. So like a typical man, I'm sure he told Karabo that, nah, I'm in the process of divorce with my wife, and so you and I can get it going. But I still feel that even when a person is going through a divorce, they are still married until they get that decree that says that the marriage has now been finally dissolved. Other than that, he's still a married man. But I also pick up some psychological manipulation when he told Karabo that he was a single man when in fact he was still married. Like I mentioned, that Sandile Mantsoe was wealthy by the age of 29, so much so that he moved to a very posh suburb of Sandton in Johannesburg, where he purchased an apartment in the most expensive apartment in Sandton called The Sky. The rent in that apartment, if you have not purchased it, it costs 25,000 Rand a month. So if you have some money, then that's probably the right place for you to go and live because it's quite luxurious. Sandile Mantsoe would invite expert economists in the field of forex and binary trading to his YouTube channel, where they would speak about the whole binary economy, which I don't quite understand it. I tried to read on it and I got confused. But one thing I do know for sure, that I always get bothered by these forex people coming into my Instagram DM, in my Twitter DM, and just basically just being nonsense. So if you are a person that is doing forex and stuff like that, please don't come to my DM. I'm not interested. Especially when you hear stories of scams, stories of swindling people. I don't want to be a victim. So I'm sorry. I know that there are forex trading companies that actually are authentic and deliver on their promises. But unfortunately, there have been criminals that have entered into this business, and as a result, many people are finding themselves as victims of these forex companies. So I'm actually not interested in them at all. Like a typical rich black man, Sandile Mantsoe would buy expensive things. He would buy expensive Italian sports car, German sports car. He would wear designer clothes from Italy, France, and the US. He wore expensive Swiss watches. He was just a flashy guy, and he would show off these things on his social media platforms. Basically, a lot of people followed Sandile Mantsoe because they found him inspirational, which is something really good when you become an inspiration to other people, basically becoming a role model. But he would make sure that people understood that he was a wealthy man. Finally, the other way that Sandile Mantsoe would make his millions was to charge people 6,000 Rand for his seminars about how to trade forex and things of that nature. And he used to fill up halls and stadiums, as from what I hear, and he would make tons of money. So Karabo Mokoena, being a business-minded person herself and a believer of law of attraction, she thought, definitely the universe has finally blessed me with someone that I can learn from, be inspired by, and that is why Sandile Mantsoe was now in her life. Both of them hit it off and became close almost immediately they came together. Sandile Mantsoe appreciated Karabo's humility, personality, as well as her intellect. People in Sandile and Karabo's life used to say that they were a power couple. They were mostly like hashtag couple goals, whatever that means. So in late November, about a month since Karabo met Sandile, Karabo decided to go home to announce to her family that she is now moving out and going to move in with her boyfriend in Sandton. Of course, Karabo's parents were not happy with this arrangement. However, Karabo Mokoena was already almost over 21 years of age, and she was a young woman, and therefore she could do whatever she wanted. So her parents gave her their blessing and said, whatever is going to make you happy, we will support it. And of Karabo Mokoena to move in with Sandile Mantsoe in Sky apartment in Sandton. So not long after Karabo Mokoena moved in with Sandile, when Sandile started showing his true colors, the relationship quickly started going through some serious turbulence. And this is about the time Karabo Mokoena packed up her things and went back home and got off the ship. So what Karabo was experiencing with Sandile Mantsoe at the Sky apartment made her feel that Sandile was not the man she thought he was, Ironically, she found herself in the hands of a man that she preached against to women that come from abusive relationships. Few days before Christmas in 2016, Sandile Mantsoe and Karabo were having an argument. During an argument, Sandile Mantsoe took Karabo's phone and smashed it against the wall and pushed her also against the wall. Karabo Mokoena will tell her friends that she and Sandile had an argument and he smashed the phone against the wall. The worst part, he even pushed her against the wall and he threatened to beat her. Not long after the incident in December, Sandile Mantsoe intensified his abusive nature on Karabo Mokoena. I know what you're thinking because I'm thinking it too, but I don't want this video to be about judging Karabo Mokoena, asking why didn't she leave. Yes, okay, I get that, and I'm also asking the same question, why didn't she leave? Abusive people, for some reason, they know exactly what button to press. Which one is going to make you stay? Probably Sandile Mantsoe, after he started showing abusive signs to Karabo, maybe he would cry and say, oh no, I made a mistake, it's never going to happen again. Some would even manipulate the victims by saying, you made me do this, making the victim feel responsible for the way that their partner is treating them. So there's something that I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, and it's something that I'm also trying to understand. What is it that abusive people have a hold on their victims? Because Karabo Mokoena is an advocate against gender-based violence, and yet she's finding herself in a very situation that she preaches against. Some people might say, but she's being a hypocrite. I would agree with that, but again, let's not judge. But the question is, what psychological manipulation she is going through with Sandile Mantsoe that has made her stay to this point in the relationship. So I think we need a discussion, education, as well as punitive measures to curb this evil. So on the 27th of March 2017, this is Karabo Mokwena's birthday. Sandile Mantsoe laid his hands on Karabo. He beat her up to a pulp, landing her in hospital. In the early hours of the 27th of March 2017, Karabo's family made a call to her to wish her a happy birthday. Unfortunately, they could not get hold of Karabo. That is because Karabo Mokoena was getting treatment at the hospital for her bruises. After Karabo Mokoena was seen by the doctor and treated, she then returned her family's call and let them know where she was and what had happened to her. Of course, her family were mortified by the news that Karabo was telling them, enough so that Lorraine, which is Karabo's mother, told Karabo to pack her things and come back home. Karabo Mokoena then started sending pictures to her friends to show them the black eye or blue eye, I don't know how you call it, as well as the bruises on her neck, as well as on her shoulders and arms. So Karabo's mother, Lorraine, she told Karabo, before you come back home, you better go to the police station and report a case of assault against Sandile Mantsoe. Reluctantly, Karabo Mokoena did exactly what her mother told her. She went to the Sandton police station where she opened a case of assault. But Karabo Mokoena was shocked and surprised to find that Sandile Mantsoe earlier in the day had come to the very same police station where he opened a case of assault against Karabo Mokoena. Karabo was so angry, she then realized that she was in a relationship with a monster. However, the police told Karabo that she needs to go home. There is nothing they are going to do because both Karabo and Sandile have opened a counter-assault charges against each other, and then the police further told Karabo that the police job is to fight crime, not to come between a lover's quarrel. Of course, Karabo Mokoena was very angry about this, and she tried to tell the police and show them the bruises on her face as well as her arm and neck, that I'm the one who is a victim of abuse here. Sandile does not have even one scratch that comes from me. But the police were not interested. Instead, they said, just go home. Otherwise, we're going to have to arrest you for the assault of Sandile Mantsoe. Of course, Karabo, feeling threatened, she left the police station and went back to the Sky apartment, where she packed up her things and told Sandile it's over, and she moved back home. So you would think that after Karabo left the Sky apartment and told Sandile that it is over, this is the end of the story, right? Far from it, unfortunately. So when Karabo got back home, she and her sister sat on the bed and started talking about everything that has transpired in the relationship, the abuse that she has been experiencing since the day she met Sandile Mantsoe. So while Karabo and Buntle were having a conversation in their bedroom, Karabo received a call from one of her friends who told her, hey, it's still your birthday, let's go celebrate it, but laying down our hair and having some drinks and have a great conversation and forget about everything that has happened. So Karabo thought it was a great idea because she just wanted to pick up the pieces of her life and forget about everything that has happened and move on with her life. And she then agreed to her friends that she is going to meet them up and have some drinks at a nightclub in Sandton. So not long after the girls have arrived at the nightclub, Sandile Mantsoe walks in with his own entourage in the same club that Karabo Mokoena was in. Karabo and Sandile saw each other and Karabo got up. When she got up, her friends noticed that she was going to Sandile. They tried to grab her and tell her, do not speak to this guy. But unfortunately, Karabo, being a strong-headed woman that she was, she went ahead and went to Sandile to have a conversation. So Karabo and Sandile started having a conversation, which for some reason escalated into an argument. I'm assuming Karabo wanted to know from Sandile why he went to the police station and lied about her that she was abusing him or she had beaten him or assaulted him. And I'm thinking Sandile, being a narcissist that he is, he probably said things to Karabo that made her extremely angry, hence the argument. So while Karabo and Sandile were busy having a conversation, I'm thinking at this point, Sandile must have told Karabo, hey, let's go talk about this at my apartment. And then Karabo called her mother to let her know that she was not coming back home. She was going to spend the night at Sandile Mantsoe's apartment. Of course, Lorraine was not happy with what she was hearing because this is the same man who landed her daughter in hospital after he had beaten her to a pulp. But Karabo, it was her 22nd birthday and she's a grown woman. She said to her mother, whispering, I cannot talk to you right now. Let's have this conversation in the morning. That would be the last conversation that Lorraine had with her daughter. So Karabo went back to Sandile and they continued arguing. The argument escalated into a physical fight. So of course, everybody in the club tried to separate both Sandile and Karabo, leaving Karabo's friends very upset with the whole situation, that their night has been spoiled and Karabo's birthday has also been spoiled. So at some point during the course of the evening, Karabo Mokoena and Sandile Mantsoe decided to live together. Of course, again, her friends were mortified by Karabo's decision. They were just not happy with the way she was giving this man a chance. So probably Sandile Mantsoe, being the narcissist, being the manipulator that he is, probably managed to convince Karabo to get back together with him. Things are going to change. He's no longer going to do the things that he did to her. You know, the typical stuff that abusive men do to their victims. And so Karabo found herself going to Sandile's apartment. At 2:40 a.m. on the 28th of March 2017, Karabo Mokoena and Sandile Mantsoe are captured by the CCTV cameras waiting for an elevator by the Sky apartment lobby. Karabo Mokoena looked unhappy. While they were standing waiting for an elevator, both Karabo Mokoena and Sandile Mantsoe were not talking to each other, which kind of makes me wonder, why did she even live with him in the first place? So the next morning, on the 28th of March 2017, Karabo's mother in Deep Kloof, Soweto, was getting worried about Karabo not returning home because she should be home by now. So she tried to make a call to Karabo to find out how far she was. Unfortunately, Lorraine's calls would go unanswered. Lorraine would follow with text messages but her text messages will also go unanswered. Lorraine started developing uneasy feelings within her, I guess mother's instinct. She could tell that something wasn't right. So she went to her husband, Karabo's father, and told him how she was feeling. Buntle overheard her mother telling her father how she was feeling about the whole situation and why Karabo was not home. Buntle wasted no time. She went straight to Santon at the Sky apartment to look for her sister. So when Buntle arrived at the Sky apartment, she went straight to the staff to ask if they saw Karabo. The staff said no, they did not see her. However, the cleaning staff did find something in a trash bin. They found Karabo's ID as well as passport. Buntle, that was very strange. Why would Karabo's important documents be in a trash bin? She called her mother and let her know what she discovered. Of course, the entire Mokoena family were worried, so they decided to go to the police and report Karabo as missing. Like the typical South African police service, it took them 2 days to complete the process for a missing person. If you remember my Van Breda case, where I mentioned that the South African police have no sense of urgency. Basically, the entire emergency services do not have a sense of urgency in our country unless it is a private company. So I'm not surprised that the police took them 2 days just to process a missing person's docket. So the police action, after they have completed the missing person's docket, they were very slow in investigating the case. So much so that Karabo's friends started to launch a social media campaign on hashtag Find Karabo Mokoena. I remember everybody that was on social media here in South Africa were hashtagging Find Karabo Mokoena. I was one of those people. It had taken the social media publicity to get the police to start doing their job. So on the 29th of March 2017, Karabo's mother, who has not slept in the past 2 days, decided to call Sandile Mantsoe and asked the whereabouts of her daughter. At Sandile's apartment, his friends paid him a visit. While they were at the apartment, they noticed a wet patch on the carpet, and Sandile brushed it off by telling them, oh no, my fridge broke and it leaked and wet the carpet. Okay, fine, plausible explanation, but for some reason, his friends did not believe him. So it's clear that the friends know that something isn't right with this man. Crazy. So eventually the police caught up with the Karabo Mokoena as a missing person, and this is the 30th of March 2017. Yep, I told you, our police have no sense of urgency whatsoever. So the first thing that the police wanted was to interview Sandile, considering the fact that he was the last person to see Karabo. Karabo's mother decided to tag along with the police when they went to the Sky apartment to interview Sandile Mantsoe. Unfortunately, when the police got to Sandile Mantsoe's apartment, he was not there. So they called Sandile to ask him where he was. Sandile told them that he was out of town, however, he was going to be back later that afternoon. The police and Karabo's mother decided to wait for Sandile to return from wherever he was, and while they were waiting for Sandile to return, they went to the Sky building staff to ask for CCTV footage of the 27th and the 28th of March 2017. The staff did not refuse, they complied and handed over the footage of the 27th and the 28th of March 2017. At 9:57 p.m., the footage shows Sandile Mantsoe going to collect a wheelie bin. A wheelie bin in Johannesburg, we call it a pick-it-up bin. Sandile Mantsoe moved the wheelie bin to his apartment. At 22:07 p.m., Sandile Mantsoe appeared. This is 10 minutes after he went with the wheelie bin into his apartment. He moved the wheelie bin to the basement of the apartment where he parks his car. I'm sure you're already suspecting what's in the bin, right? At 22:29 p.m., Sandile Mantsoe is seen driving off the Sky building. Initially, Sandile Mantsoe had told the Mokoena family as well as her friends that Karabo did not spend the night with him. In fact, she did leave and go home. But when Sandile Mantsoe was interviewed by the police, he told the police that Karabo had taken a flight to London in the UK. But what Sandile did not know is that the police had already viewed the CCTV footage where Karabo and him were seen in the lobby of the Sky building, waiting for an elevator to his apartment. And secondly, Sandile did not know that the Sky building staff had found Karabo's passport as well as an ID. So how is it possible that Karabo flew to London in the UK without a passport? The police then took Sandile to the police station to ask him more questions. So while the police took Sandile to an interview room at the police station, Lorraine waited at the lobby of the police station, just pacing about. She was feeling exhausted. She hasn't slept in 3 days, so she just wanted to know what had happened to her daughter. All sorts of thoughts were running across her mind, just fearing for the safety of her daughter, wondering if she was okay or dead. An hour after waiting for the police, a policeman came out of the interview room with Sandile and called Lorraine aside and took her to a private room where he broke the news. Sandile Mantsoe confirmed to the police that Karabo was dead. Following his confession to the police about the death of Karabo Mokoena, Sandile started making all sorts of ridiculous claims about the events that took place that led to Karabo Mokoena's death. However, he made sure that the police understood that he was not responsible for her death. However, Sandile Mantsoe did admit to the police that he did move Karabo's body and dumped it in Bramley. Now, Bramley is about 7 to 8 kilometers away from Sandton. The police wanted to know from Sandile where exactly in Bramley he had dumped Karabo's body, so he decided to take them to the dumping site. When they got to where he had dumped Karabo Mokoena's body, they did not find it. All they could see was a ditch with some scorching in it. Sandile was then arrested for the murder of Karabo Mokoena. It would take several days before the Bramley police station to connect Karabo Mokoena with the dumping site. So this next part, guys, shows how sick Sandile is. So Sandile at the dumping site, he told the police that when he got there, he laid Karabo Mokoena's body and then he took gas or petrol and doused her with it and lit the matches and she started burning. While she was burning, he left. So 2 days later, a passerby saw what looked like human remain. He ran to the Bramley police station to report, and then the police asked him to take them straight to the body. When the police got to the body, indeed, it was a body of a human being, but it was not clear whether it was of a male or female because it was so badly damaged by the fire. So because the body was a gender, meaning it was not claimed or identified, the police took the body to a nearby hospital's mortuary. Upon hearing the story of Karabo Mokoena and Sandile Mantsoe taking the Sandton police to the dumping site, then the Bramley police were able to connect Jendo with the dumping site. Therefore, forensics were called to examine Jendo and see if it's going to connect them to Karabo Mokoena. And indeed, in early May, the forensics report did come and confirm with the DNA that Jendo was indeed Karabo Mokoena. So while Sandile Mantsoe was being held at the police cell, the story broke in the news. I remember this so well. Everybody's jaw was on the floor, like, what on earth? It was just unbelievable that a man like this, who professes to be a man of God, quiet and soft-spoken, wealthy and successful, would do something as heinous as this. So Sandile then found out that the story has broken out in the news. He then started changing his statement. The first thing that he said was that he did not make any statement to the police about the death of Karabo Mokoena. He says that he did not make a statement. The police are lying on him, trying to pin Karabo Mokoena's death on him. He denied taking the police to the dumping site of Karabo Mokoena. He just denied everything and he's like, the police are lying, the police are lying. Basically, what Sandile Mantsoe was trying to do, he was trying delay tactics so that he would not have his day in court. Unfortunately for Sandile, I don't think he understands how criminal law works. If you are accused of a crime, you have to go to court and clear your name. So Sandile's second version of events, he said that he came back from work, he found Karabo dead with clear signs of suicide. He says that he moved the body and dumped it in Bramley because he did not want Karabo's death to be pinned on him. Then he changed his story again and said that he and Karabo were involved in a money blood ritual. Apparently, the ritual promised great wealth and fortune to both Karabo and Sandile. Unfortunately, the consequence of the blood or money ritual is that the two of them were not allowed to break up. If they break up, one of them will die. So he says that Karabo then decided that she was going to sacrifice herself for him, hence she committed suicide. Like, what? What? And you say you're a man of God, right? And you are involved in blood rituals and money rituals? And what sort of a narcissist are you that you would watch a woman you love sacrifice herself? Why don't you sacrifice yourself for her? Are you that important? So before Sandile Mantsoe's trial, he was facing 3 charges. That was the charge of murder, a charge of defeating the ends of justice, and a charge of assault with intent to cause grievous bodily harm. Despite his multiple stories of events, Sandile Mantsoe tried to brand Karabo's name in a negative light. Basically, he was saying that Karabo was a loose woman. He continued to defame her and discredit her name because for some reason he thought by doing so it was going to lessen the blow as to why he murdered her. So when the trial finally started, Sandile Mantsoe then retracted some of the stories that he told. He said that it's untrue that he and Karabo were involved in a blood money ritual. He also retracted the things that he said about Karabo, and he said they were all untrue. However, he did go back to his previous story of events, that when he came back home, he found Karabo dead on the floor and she had committed suicide, and therefore he was afraid that her death was going to be pinned on him. Hence, he moved her body and dumped it in Bramley. The way he talks about Karabo's body is as if it was garbage that was an inconvenience to him. Of course, South Africans were not having it. They were up in arms. Outside of court, there were marches and protesters calling for harsh sentence for Sandile Mantsoe for what he has done. It also highlighted the gender-based violence scourge in South Africa. Unfortunately, some political parties decided to go and score some cheap political scores, which was just disgusting as far as I'm concerned, because these political parties are the same political parties that sit in parliament and make laws. Why are they not making laws about how they are going to punish gender-based violence perpetrators? So to make South Africans, especially women, fools, that was just uncalled for. Political parties in South Africa. So it was 3 days since Sandile Mantsoe's trial started when he took the stand. Understand that Sandile Mantsoe tried to paint himself as a saint, that he's this angel who came into Karabo's life to be a positive influence. He came and changed her life. He was the one that encouraged Karabo to start NGOs against gender-based violence. Mind you, this is the same guy who beat Karabo Mokoena to a pulp, landing her in hospital. This is the same guy who beat up Karabo Mokoena in a nightclub. This is the same guy who smashed Karabo's phone against the wall. This is the same guy who pushed Karabo Mokoena against the wall. And he is talking about encouraging her to open NGOs against gender-based violence? What is wrong with this guy? Like, what the actual F? He further says that the only thing that he's guilty of is trying to build Karabo. So you build a person by beating them up and eventually murdering them. Okay, got it. So outside of the court process, the media interviewing Sandile Mantsoe, he repeated what he said, that all he's guilty of was to try to build Karabo. He was a positive influence in Karabo's life. He came at the time when Karabo, things were bad. I don't even understand what that means. He further said that he's a businessman and he wanted Karabo to be a successful businesswoman. That is all that he's guilty of. And if this is going to lead him to prison, then so be it. Like, huh? People, what are we dealing here with? So during the trial, Judge Johnson wanted the CCTV footage to be elaborated more so that he can admit it into evidence if it was authentic. So unbiased experts did examine the footage and indeed confirm that the footage is authentic and it was not edited or doctored. However, Sandile Mantsoe continued to cover up his tracks. He continued to create fake alibis. He continued to distance himself from Karabo's murder. He was just painting himself as an angel. He even mentioned again that Karabo had taken a trip to London in the UK, when he knew very well that that was untrue, because during his trial, TV footage was played in court, and there he was. And the police, when they were looking at the CCTV footage, they wanted to know two things. Was Sandile Mantsoe with Karabo Mokoena? Two, did Karabo Mokoena leave the Sky building? So unfortunately for Sandile, Judge Johnson did admit the CCTV footage into evidence, and on the 3rd of May 2018, Judge Johnson found Sandile Mantsoe guilty of murder of Karabo Mokoena. Sandile Mantsoe was sentenced to 32 years in prison. The sentence included 5 years for assault with intent to cause grievous bodily harm, 30 years for murder, and 4 years for defeating the ends of justice. Judge Johnson also believed that Sandile Mantsoe did not deserve parole. He was not fit for it at all. Judge Johnson, further in his judgment, when he was delivering the judgment, he described Sandile Mantsoe as a devil in disguise with a cold heart, and that he deserved nothing than a harsh sentence. So while Judge Johnson was busy reading out his judgment to Sandile, Sandile was behaving like a celebrity, winking at the gallery and waving to people, wearing his expensive suits and a heavy gold watch. Basically, he was just being oblivious and blasé about everything that is going on in court. Not once before, during, and after his trial did Sandile Mantsoe show any sort of emotion. He showed no sign of humanity whatsoever. He showed no compassion. He showed no remorse. He showed no sadness. He showed absolutely nothing that would paint him as a human being. So much for a man of God. So another thing during his trial that was revealed was the fact that Sandile Mantsoe was not as wealthy as everybody thought. In fact, Sandile Mantsoe was accused of swindling hundreds of people of their hard-earned money. Some of these people did take the stand and testify against Sandile Mantsoe being a crook. It was further revealed that Sandile Mantsoe's earnest living was also in the red. And it was also revealed in court that Sandile's lifestyle, including the Sky apartment that he purchased and all of his toys, were monies that he stole from people. So you see why I say people in the Forex business, stay away from me. Stay away from me. So after Sandile Mantsoe was read his sentence and he was whisked away to start serving his 32-year imprisonment, Karabo's father, Karabo Mokoena, was unhappy with the sentence. He felt that it was too little, considering the fact that his daughter is never coming back home. So I'm not quite sure how you feel about that, because a life sentence, correct me if I'm wrong, is 25 years. He got 30 years for her murder. And on top of that, he was already 30 years old when he was sentenced to 32 years, meaning that he is going to come out of prison when he is 62 years old. Remember, he is not qualified for parole, so he's going to serve the full 32 years. So if you think about it, it might be a harsh sentence, but at the same time, I understand Karabo's father thinking that this sentence is insufficient. Once again, Karabo Mokoena's case did highlight the gender-based violence scourge in South Africa. Unfortunately, nothing has happened thus far because we keep having more of Karabo Mokoenas that are reported in our news. Recently, a final year law student was found dead, murdered by her boyfriend, who dismembered her body and dumped her body at the corner of a street. Imagine that. So just a little side note and some of my thoughts about this case. It's very upsetting. There are a lot of things that I did not mention in this case because they were way too graphic. So I thought, you know what, let me just tell the part that is not too heavy, even though this entire case is heavy. But I left out a lot of details but I want to highlight as well that the only way I think gender-based violence in South Africa can be deterred is by having physical harsh sentence, either castration if the man is found guilty of rape by a court of law, or if the man murdered the victims, they too should face the death penalty and having found guilty by the court of law. I could be wrong. I don't know what your feeling is. I know there are a lot of people that have a different feeling about the death penalty. I'm one of those people who is still coming to terms with exactly how I feel about the death penalty. But from my research, I found out that actually places where there is the death penalty just lurking around, heinous crimes like murder, rape, and things of that nature are very minimal. Especially here in Africa. I don't know about other parts of the world, but here in Africa, people don't want to be hanged or electrocuted or lethal injected or whatever the case is. So having the death penalty lurking around might change a lot of men's mentality when it comes to women. So I want to say, if you find yourself involved in a gender-based violent relationship, please just leave. The moment he throws his first slap at you or spits at you or call you a certain slur, get up and go, girl. One slap is too many. Just go. Save your life, because the thing is, with abusive men, they eventually kill their victims. It's even worse when you have children. If you have children, you should think about them first. Don't be afraid that you are going to be subjected to a life of abject poverty. You are a human being who's able, go and find yourself a job and be independent and take care of yourself, and don't rely on a man. I agree with Karabo there. Well, that is it about this scary murder of Karabo Mokoena, which is heartbreaking, guys. And I hope that our lawmakers will change their minds about how we can deter this heinous crime in our country. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my True Crime YouTube channel, and also don't forget to comment as well as share this video far and wide. And I will see you next time with a new True Crime video. Goodbye.